Hello and welcome to another exciting Cooking with Unity. I'm your host, Max Moreau, and with me are Jeffrey Hawthorne and Philip Wilson.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Tired.
All right, well, hang in there.
Low energy tonight.
All right, well, we'll have a nice low-key show, so, because we're going to be doing boring stuff. We're going to be doing serialization and stuff, probably. We'll see how this actually turns out. So, oh yeah, I need to actually switch to the screen. So let's just, for the record, see where we're at in the game. I don't even remember what we did last time. It's been a while. Sorry for the long delay between episodes here. We have a game. We can shoot things. We have a secondary fire thing. That's kind of a second skill. We haven't really officially made it into a skill system, but it does work. And we have an inventory system that's very ghetto that we can get new items and select them to use them, and then it changes our attacks properties as appropriate. Now, on the last episode, we did a little bit of reorganization notes last time, and one of the things that we were looking at changing was, right now, our weapons are actually owned by our inventory system. So, like, if we hit play right now, you'll see that the first weapon that we have is actually this button, and this has the information for our weapon inside of this test weapon script. And same thing, as we kill enemies, it just keeps adding to this thing. And this is actually the only place where the data is actually stored. And it seems a little odd that it would exist as a subclass of the canvas. It doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't be this way, but the organization kind of worries me a little bit. The other thing is, this morning we played around briefly with Scriptable Objects, and I'm going to steal something from that real quick. But basically, we set up a very basic scriptable object system and showed a script that I found on the internet that's awesome for this. I'm just going to grab these scripts for it right now. Not what I wanted. In Assets, 80, and Editor. We're just going to throw this in here. And I'm going to put it at the root level. Just have this. No. Okay, it doesn't want to go at the root level. Why is it not showing the betweens here? Huh. Oh, it's because there's something already named editor. That's the problem. Alright, so let's just throw this stuff into that folder and delete this. So what this does is this creates a new menu option in Create menu that allows us to create scriptable objects based on any scriptable objects we have. If we do it right now, it will be an empty list because we haven't created any. Now, so we could have, currently we have test weapon. What is it? It's in weapons. So test weapon currently is an object that exists in as a mono behavior. It derives from weapon, which is a mono behavior. And why did we... Oh, because it's abstract. Got it. So test weapon has to override that. So there's a few problems here. So we could have weapon descriptions in a scriptable object. I'm going to create a very simple script that just kind of shows that. I'm just going to call this mock scriptable object weapon. So we're just going to do this real quick so that we can see what these things do on this show, and talk about where they might be useful in this project. This is not going to be our silver bullet, unfortunately, for organizing our data, but it provides some neatness for editor level data organization. So I'm going to call this a scriptable object instead of a mono behavior. And all we're going to do is just put some values on here. So like our weapons have a name, min damage, and max damage. I'm just going to crib this from here and throw it in here. Save it. Fun titled weapon. Oh yeah, I guess we called it that. So now if we go to Create and choose Scriptable Object, the little window that pops up will now have mock Scriptable Object Weapon in the list. And we can create, and this will create an instance, and we can call this We could call this, we could give it just a weapon name or something. We could just call it weapon skull skull crusher or something. I don't know. We'll just call it a skull crusher and give it a min damage of like 10 and a max damage of 100 or something. So so now we have this this object that exists in our hierarchy, in our project hierarchy, and we could reference this in script, and we don't have to instantiate it anywhere. It's just a thing that exists in the project. It's an asset that data can be loaded out of. Now, I mentioned data can be loaded out of it. You can't really change the data in it at runtime. So this is where we run into our problems. So like this could be used to create unique weapons, so that right now we just have randomly generated loot, right? But in most Diablo games, there's also loot that is less random at the very least. Like it might have some random elements to it, but it'll have a unique name, and it will always have the same graphic, and it will always have certain characteristics. And so this kind of thing could work for defining those unique weapons. It would be nice if it could work kind of both ways, where you could save data to it, but the only serialization and saving that's happening is at the editor level. And so the only time you can actually save data to these is using an editor script. As a matter of fact, the Scriptable Object Factory that we added from the internet here, all it's really doing is it's generating the where is it? It's not in here. In the window, what it's doing is it's actually creating an instance of the Scriptable object, and then it is creating where is it? Create asset. And then it's actually doing a create asset call. And this create asset call is very much a Unity editor thing. You can't do this at runtime in a game. And so we can't we can instantiate, we can do this portion of the Scriptable Objects instantiation in game, and we can have it during runtime. And those objects will persist during that run, and everything will be fine during that run. But any time that we quit the game, it's not going to serialize to anything. We get no automatic serialization. We can't create an asset to work around the lack of serialization. And in general, there's not a good just direct serialize this scriptable object as data. So what we're probably going to have to do is kind of have a data representation for our objects that's not derived from scriptable object or monobehavior. It's just a normal class that stores data, and then we're going to have to build a serializer of some kind for that, for actually saving the data at runtime. And then we can have the layout of this object be in parity with our equivalent scriptable object versions, so that we can define, as I said, unique objects using scriptable objects, and then those basically will create the data format that we determined, that we've self-created, and fill that out at the start of the program or something. So this has been a lot of description and not a whole lot of action. So let's see, what can we actually do for action? So if we were going to make it so that the weapon generator doesn't actually reference weapons directly on the object itself, how would we go about that? So right now, again, if we hit play and just pause immediately, we have this weapon button that has a test weapon that has information on it. And these weapons, these test weapons are, let's see. So they're currently derived from monobehavior, and we're currently attaching them to objects. Strictly speaking, they don't have to be attached to the objects, and strictly speaking, they really don't have to be monobehaviors. We're not using update, we're not using on enable, on disable. We are just storing data and calling a abstract function. That's all we're doing with these so far.
So has a question, which is, so scriptable objects wouldn't work for, say, creating a weapon your character earns after doing something like killing a boss in Mega Man?
it would be great for creating a weapon like that because you're only going to define like 8 of those weapons, one for each of your bosses, and those are going to be defined at editor time, like at build time. You're not going to be redefining those while you're playing the game. So scriptable objects would be very well suited for that case. It's useful for data that you are storing when you're creating the game. And what I mean by that is like another good example would be if you're playing Final Fantasy, there's a lot of treasure chests in that game. You could define treasure chests as scriptable objects, and you would basically have one for each of your treasure chests for the contents of it. You also could just put it on the treasure chest itself physically and just use a mono behavior, so that might not be the best example. But there's cases where you don't want where your physical representation is not necessarily the same as your data representation. In those cases, scriptable objects is your go-to container for data that you are setting up for the game. So, or can be your go-to. I'm not saying that it necessarily is your go-to. So, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need that anymore. Save. So, I'm going to go ahead and make this not a mono behavior. Save. We're going to remain, we're going to continue to keep the, so, wait, weapon does not contain a definition for get component. Alright, so if we make this change, we're going to have to go through and fix a lot of things, and that's fine. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. And we'll see how this omelet tastes at the end of the episode. So let's go through and start doing this. So now we can't have our script on a prefab anymore. So right now we have a prefab for our weapon button, and this can't have information for where is it? I guess it gets placed in programmatically. Let's find out. Mox scriptable. No, wait, where is weapon generator?
Should make a folder with all the script objects, so they aren't just everywhere.
Sure.
I mean, even the scripts themselves.
Well, they are in the scripts folder.
Are.
Yeah. I just get through this in here for now. We'll probably need to reorganize that a bit later. And these, I don't know how these got out of their materials, but they're going to go in materials now. So, so right now, when we roll a new weapon, let's go to that script first and fix the problems there. Weapon generator. We're generating a test weapon, and we're basically adding that component to the, as I said, to the inventory button. And so let's actually let's create an inventory script. So C# script, we're going to call this player equipment. Wait, what does player equipment do? Are you even using this? Okay, so we are using this, and it just has a current weapon. So let's also have this have a list of our inventory. So we're going to have a public weapon list, and this list is going to be called inventory. Save. So when we do a weapon generator now, instead of adding a component test weapon to the thing, we're going to instead add a weapon to our player equipment. And what's the easiest way to do that? So we have an instance to work with. And actually, let's not make this right. Let's make this a list so that we can edit it much easier. This is a collection set generic, and we will do public list weapon inventory equals new list weapon. So this creates and instantiates our weapon list, and then we can add to this as we need. And just in case we want to make this more robust, I'm going to actually not make this public. We're going to have public accessors that allow us to get to that. So we're going to create a void add weapon, and all this is going to do for now is inventory dot. Oh, it's going to require that weapon, new weapon. Inventory dot add new weapon. Save.
Do we want that to be public?
Yes, we absolutely want that to be public. Save. So now in the weapon generator, instead of getting rid of our test weapon, or adding our test weapon to the button itself, we're going to add it to our player equipment. So player equipment dot instance dot add weapon new
We don't have a constructor for it, so we'll have to create it first and then set the variables or add the constructor.
Yeah. Hold on a second though. What were we doing before in the script?
Creating an instance and saving it in.
Oh, it was test
variable.
weapon. Okay, so we did just assume that it's a test weapon. All right, so let's go back to that player equipment dot instance dot add weapon new test weapon. So what Jeffrey was just saying is we don't have a constructor for this thing, so we'd have to set everything after the fact, which I think this is a good time to go over constructors. So we typically have not dealt with constructors in Unity, and part of the reason for this is using constructors for mono behaviors is a no-no, and we use mono behaviors a whole lot, and we don't use pure data types a whole lot. So there's times that we haven't really run into a situation where we needed a constructor. So in C#, you can create a constructor. I think it's like this. You create a public void weapon. Well, actually, this shouldn't have a constructor because it's a abstract class. But our test weapon should. So we can do a public weapon. Public. Wait, is that how it works, or class struct? Hold on.
One of those things is supposed to be missing, but I don't
C#.
know.
Yeah, we'll look it up. C#. Constructor syntax is probably what I want, the full thing, but I'm sure that this will have it.
Yeah, Miss Deanna will probably
Yeah.
give you the answer that you're looking for.
All right, so
Yeah, it is public.
yeah, cool. Why does it seem to not like that?
Go back there real quick.
Oh, it's a test weapon, public test
Oh,
weapon.
public test weapon. That's our problem. There we go.
There you go.
Class constructor, and let's. So we're gonna have a version that. Let's see.
Oh, we can't overload it, can't we?
We can.
So
we'll
set
make
default values
we'll make
and
one with
another
defaults.
with,
Yeah. So this one's going to be our default constructor. So we'll just have a min damage
or we could put the defaults in the
what?
parameters.
Oh, for the yeah.
But, I mean, wouldn't an override be better? Right?
Yeah.
Where it's predefining things if they aren't already specified.
So what he was saying is we could do it in the defaults here.
Oh, I see.
Or we could do it.
Or we could overload the constructor.
Yeah, overload the constructor. Let's do an overload for the constructor. Let's just do that for right now and then see how we feel about it. So min damage equals, and we'll just have it be some value. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have default values for test weapon, honestly.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Right.
Yeah, let's just do. Hold public test weapon class constructor. So what we will do is we will not have the default constructor. We will only have the parameter version. And I guess we could do the parameter. Let's not do parameter defaults. Let's just do it. So we want float min damage, float max damage, and we set new min damage.
You can still do that. This dot min damage equals min damage.
I guess I could. I don't want to take the chance. Min damage equals new min damage, and max damage equals new max damage. Save. So let's go to our weapon generator. So new test weapon.
There was one other variable, wasn't there?
Was there? Oh yeah, there was the name, wasn't there? Yeah, weapon name. So string weapon name. New weapon name. And weapon name equals new weapon name. Save. So we go back to our weapon generator. And return weapon. Why does it return a weapon?
Current weapon is set to it.
Okay. Does anything else call generate weapon? Search, find in files.
Death.
So when an enemy dies, it has a chance to generate a weapon. And we aren't using anything with that return value, so it doesn't really matter. So that's good. I guess we could still have it return the weapon, just in case we need that for some reason. Yeah, let's actually keep that. So
that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, so what we are going to do is we don't need this. We're going to do this at the end here. And since we need to return the weapon, I'm going to go ahead and make it so add weapon automatically returns that as well. So if we go to, where is it? Player equipment, add weapon, we're going to have it do weapon.
So you're not supposed to create classes if you use a mono behavior? Or if you're using mono behavior?
You should not use class constructors when you are using mono behavior, because the Unity actually is doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes when it's serializing, deserializing. It creates instances all the time. It basically, you can really screw up Unity if you use constructors.
Oh, I see.
Return new weapon.
If you use them within mono behavior. Or the mono behavior, is that correct?
Yes, in any mono behavior you should not do constructors.
But outside of the mono behavior, it's all right.
Yeah, so if you're just creating your own class that does not derive from mono behavior or does not derive from a subclass of mono behavior, then yes, you probably can and should use constructors for certain things.
All right.
So player equipment, new test weapon, we're going to put weapon min damage. Where is this?
That was the previous weapon we were creating.
Yeah, so for each text. Oh, I see. This is creating the. Yeah.
So I think we want to do a new test weapon up above.
And then fill it out.
As a weapon.
Well, okay. Well,
Test weapon equals new test weapon. And we can take out the generation stuff we're doing there.
Why can we? Why are we taking this out? Because this is where we're generating our damage ranges and.
Oh, that's right. Everything is a test weapon right now.
Yeah.
Jones Cooper says use create instance for mono behavior and scriptable objects.
Yeah.
In that case, we need a constructor that doesn't have anything. I guess there's a default one that doesn't.
Well, actually, you don't want to use create instance for mono behavior. You want to use instantiate for mono behavior. You want to use create instance for scriptable objects.
Okay.
I don't know what create instance would do on a mono behavior.
I don't know.
So maybe that is valid. I don't know. That's beyond the extent of my knowledge at the moment. Sorry, I interrupted. So right now we're doing. Okay, I see. We're doing weapon.weapon name. Okay, so yeah, this will work. We don't have a default constructor, so I'm just going to do weapon name equals Untitled weapon equals, what was our defaults before?
1 and 10.
1 and 10. All right. 1.0 F and 10.0 F. So now if we go to new test weapon, we do all this stuff, we add weapon, and we return weapon.
Which then gets selected as the current weapon.
How does it get selected as the current weapon?
Up above.
Oh, yeah, in the case of the first time we do this, yes. Up above it does that. Let's save this, see where our other compile errors are now, and then squeeze the bubbles out until they go away.
What was the error?
Okay, so the error was weapon does not contain a definition for get component because it's no longer a mono behavior. So we can't get the equip weapon button.
So we can't enable and disable the buttons.
All right, so right now. So this doesn't make any sense. We're not going to get component weapon. So the weapon buttons have to still associate somehow with the weapon that they're quote unquote associated with. Before they were carrying the weapon itself. So we can't rely on that anymore because the weapon's no longer a mono behavior. So what we need to do is we need to have some sort of way to associate a weapon with a script, not with a script, with a object. So I'm going to create a what do we have here for names here? Equip weapon button. What does equip weapon button do?
That's where we have the error.
So this is actually probably a good place to put it. So we're going to put public weapon associated weapon. Alright, so, and equip weapon, what we will do is... Okay, so this is somehow getting... Alright. I'm going to work around this problem. This is a problem. So let's first do... We don't need weapon, get component weapon. We say current weapon equals associated weapon. And, alright, so if old button... That's the sound of thinking. All right, so we're going to need to have some way of telling what object owned the old weapon somehow. So How can we do
What
that?
object?
This is just
only
for
one?
disabling the previous button, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So we could have a static button for the current button.
Yes. So that'd be a separate script or something that had that information in it, something to do with the inventory itself. What's inventory button hack? That sounds exciting. Oh, yeah, that's how we bring up the inventory.
You may need to use a map having the weapon as a key and the button as a value for the inventory.
Yeah, I'd like to avoid that, but I was thinking that is certainly a possibility, either a map or a dict for that.
I meant in that equip.
Even in the equip thing. So what did you say?
Is one of these on each button?
Yeah, one of these is on each button.
So, well, the script could have a public static button.
Oh, I see.
And when it's equipped, it sets that one. It just turns off the previous, what's already in there, and then puts the new one in there.
It just basically only ever has one value and it's shared across everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would...
So let me ask you your opinion on this. So I don't really like having a static part of equip weapon button as the thing that contains this. I think this should be information that's probably contained either on a hierarchy just above it that contains all the buttons or somewhere else. We have a player equipment. This could probably store. We could place the weapon button to associate with this. That seems a little odd too, though.
I mean, but there would be a section of your equipment that would be what's contained, though it's weird to call it a button.
Yeah.
It would be your equipped weapon in this case.
Well, except for the equipped weapon we already have. It's just we need the UI portion. As far as model view control goes, this is the model and then we need like view. Let's see. Equip weapon button. Associated weapon. Maybe it would make sense to put it as a static in here. Let's do it.
So this is just to show that you have this weapon equipped, right?
Yeah, this is specifically so that we know which button to disable and enable. Because when we play the game, well, when we could play the game, it shows the selected weapon.
The person has suggested have each button check if it's a weapon if its weapon is what's equipped.
Mm-hmm.
When you pull up the inventory.
That's a lot of checking.
Yeah.
Which is, again, the mapping would be better if we wanted to do it that way, because then it's minimal checking. It's a little bit of setup, but then we have a really fast check. Select weapon button. Okay, let's just do it.
You can always change it later if it doesn't work out. You know?
Yeah. Wait. Oh, interactable equals true. Got it. And then button, get component button. This is no longer... Wait, yeah, this is appropriate. Okay.
And you have to put button into selected weapon button.
Where do I have to put button into selected weapon button?
At the end when you have the new button.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So... selected weapon button equals
button.
All right. It's a lot of button.
No, the one that kind of cracks me up is button button equals get component button. That's a thing. Is that right?
Set text.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. That is a thing that was written there, right, on the screen. Button equals get component button.
Yeah, something like that.
It was something
along those lines.
Right, yeah.
So, all right. So we still have a problem. Currently, we're setting the initial equipped weapon as button as interactable, and it's not organized this way anymore. So, generate weapon, current weapon equals weapon. So wait, when we generate the weapon, we instantiate the button prefab, create the weapon. So we also need to somehow okay, so what we'll do here is we will do, where is our button? We have some sort of text and get components and children text.
Or instantiate. It's
okay.
So instance is the button prefab.
Yeah.
So button is in there somewhere.
All right, so we will do equip weapon button dot selected weapon button equals instance dot get component button and equip weapon button dot wait, we don't want to do this.
Well, we could have a default parameter. Equip weapon equals false, and then pass in true.
Gotcha.
In start.
Public. So we'll do bool equip equip weapon immediately equals false. So we will do generate weapon true here. Then we won't do this. We'll do both of these equivalents in the other portion here. So if equip weapon immediately, then we will do player equipment instance current weapon equals weapon and weapon dot get component. This means that we probably don't need to return weapon anymore.
That dot get component, that's where we want the instance skip button.
Which get component? Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Instance. Although let's do it. Equip weapon button dot selected weapon button equals.
We want to do that. We want to use the function if we can. I think.
Which function? What function?
Equip weapon button. Equip weapon. Oh wait, that's.
Yeah, we don't want to use that. This is what's happened when you click the button to equip it. Well, maybe we do want to use it.
Yeah, we want to use it on the button that we created.
Okay.
That way we make sure we turn off any other weapon that was selected if there was one
Good point.
selected.
Good point. So instead of directly setting weapon button, we will just do...
and I don't think we have to do player equipment.instance anymore, do we? Isn't that done in the weapon button?
Yeah. So do we do selected weapon button in here? Yeah, we do. So
we just want instance.get component button dot equip weapon or whatever it is. The last line.
Instance. Oh, I see. we don't want. We want get component equip weapon button.
Oh yeah.
Dot and then dot equip weapon. Yeah, that might work.
And we don't need that first line.
Oh yeah.
Did we ever set the associated button?
We don't need that anymore. Set the associated button. Where do we?
Did we do that? When we created.
Selected weapon button.
So when we generate weapon, we want to put the associated weapon into that equip weapon button. So we want to do instance component equip weapon button dot associated weapon equals and the weapon that we created. Do it outside of that if. Yeah. Weapon.
I'm not liking this organization, quite frankly, but. Alright, let's see if it does anything.
Should save the...
Oh, you can get null reference exceptions. And we've got some weapons.
One of them just says ignore.
Yeah, well, it just rolled ignore.
I guess so.
I want something with really low damage so we can make sure that it's working.
8 to 9.
Color secure is pretty good. Yeah, that looks like the numbers.
Seems to be working.
Wow. It's a miracle.
Should check that in.
Yeah, let's check that in for right now. Scape. Completely reorganized the weapon system. I'm going to be pretty specific on this one.
Scriptable objects.
Well, it's
there's support.
Weapons no longer are mono behaviors.
Yeah.
Weapons are no longer are mono behaviors. They are just weapons. Inventory no longer held by UI, now held in player equipment. Only nasty thing is how the equipment is associated with its buttons. Currently, there is a static weapon in equip weapon. Is that what it was called?
Equip weapon button, something like that.
Yeah, equip weapon button. That is associated with the button. That associates the weapon with. Oh, it's currently static weapon. Not a static weapon. Static button. That is associated with the currently selected weapon. Commit. I know we got to this thing 15 minutes late, but I'm really tired tonight, and I know Phil's really tired, so I think we're going to call it at this point.
I'm glad that we got the button system working.
Yeah, I like this organization better. It's still not perfect, but I like this a lot better than what we had.
Better than it being owned by the UI.
Yeah.
Because the UI, I mean,
if the game was simple enough
in certain scenarios, but if we want to ever implement like a multiplayer aspect to this,
it would get real ugly real quick.
Yeah, like it should be owned by the entity that contains the weapon. Which is the player.
We're not doing multiplayer on this game, and I'm going to tell you right now. Even with this organization, it's going to get real ugly real quick. Multiplayer is not easy, but especially with this type of complexity and for a game. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us tonight. If you have any questions, please email me, pushypixels@pushypixels.com. You can also tweet me at Drakfire. That's DRAKFYRE. You should buy Phil's game, Robot Alone. It's cool.
You get the high score and finally beat my high score.
Has no one done that yet?
Years, years. I've been saying beat my high score. You know who's beaten my high score? My brother, and then I beat his high score. So you can follow me on Twitter. That's at Magmalemur, MAGMALEMUR. But more important than buying my game or follow me on Twitter, you should donate to the Cooking with Unity Patreon. That's right. You can donate to Cooking with Unity via Patreon. Patreon.com/cookingwithunity, or you can find it on the homepage from the YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Clicking on the little Patreon logo.
Yeah, clicking on that little. Yeah, click on that hamburger.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, and you guys have a great one. And I will catch you guys tomorrow with more Breakfast with Unity, and we'll all catch you on Thursday, hopefully, with more Scape.
Yep.